You're listening to Viking Radio, coming to you from Dream Street Studios at Del Mar College.
Hello, I'm your host, Dr. Natalie Chapa. So actually, I'd like to say good morning to the Coastal Bend, and we've got a really great show today because I think we have two giants in higher education in the Coastal Bend here with us. I'm really excited to welcome Dr. Mark Escamilla, president of Del Mar College, who's been at the college now for 18 years. My boss.
Yep,
and then we've got a new fearless leader in the Coastal Bend, Dr. Zachary Suarez, who is now overseeing Coastal Bend College. So welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite. I'm excited to be here among friends.
Absolutely.
And it's just been exciting to collaborate up to this date and a lot of the great work that's taking place in the area. So having a lot of fun, being innovative, being bold, and being very decisive. And we have some very strong partners with Del Mar College and Dr. Escamilla in place. So very appreciative of all the support that we've received at the institution as well.
And I love that when you first came on board, Dr. Escamilla was ready to go. It's like, we've got a new person in here. You know, there's great opportunity for collaboration, mentorship, friendship, really benefiting all of the Coastal Bend and our students and community. So, Doctor, you want to talk a little bit about what that's been for you?
Sure. You know,
awesome.
in 10 short months, I think it is that Zach has been in place as CEO over there at Coastal Bend. He's done amazing things. It's been like a time warp watching all the things that he's been doing. You know, but what I love so much about our professional development of our professional relationship is that, you know, we both have agreed sincerely and honestly with each other to confront the issues, get those out of the way, and just serve the families of Coastal Bend College. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Suarez believes that. I see it in his actions, and it's just been an honor to be here as his colleague down the road.
So you have been now president for how long?
I wasn't tracking. It seems like a blur, but 10 months.
10 months, okay.
I mean, más o menos, man. I think
that
it's
sounds
less than
about
a year.
right.
Happy 10-month anniversary.
Yeah, July 22nd of last
okay.
year. So yeah,
That was
just
pretty
about.
close.
Yeah,
That was pretty
and
close.
we've been having a lot of fun, and I will share just with our audience listening. I mean, I consider Dr. Escamilla a friend. I consider Del Mar a partner in collaboration in the work that we're doing. I mean that sincerely. Having someone to reach out to and pick their brain, someone that's been innovative in the area for such a long time, and we see the growth at Del Mar College. There's a lot of great things that we're beginning to do as peers and as collaborators that I feel are genuinely going to shape our region for years to come. So we're very excited about that work, that partnership, and the collaboration, and just the support, the friendship. I consider Dr. Escamilla a friend, un amigo. Yeah.
You know, and I think people will appreciate hearing that because we are a handshake culture here.
Yep.
And like you said, being truthful right away, I think is a really big deal. And so talk a little bit about, you mentioned already the collaboration with Del Mar. So for people out there, you know, what are the two colleges doing together to ensure that there is that movement forward for our community?
I think for Coastal Bend College specifically, we recently launched the Coastal Bend Promise program. That is, it closely aligns with the Freedom program that you all have here at Del Mar College. And I will share that that project came to fruition very quickly because we were able to reach out to our peers like Dr. Escamilla and say, what does this framework look like? How is it that you all institutionalized it? What type of resources will we need to put in place?
Okay.
Who do we need to bring to the table to launch something like this? As we know, these Promise initiatives typically can take anywhere from 2 to 3 years to launch.
Right.
And the fact that we were able to execute it in such a short amount of time within a 6-month time frame, I think speaks to the level of partnership and collaboration that we have, and being able to reach out to a partner like Del Mar College and Dr. Escamilla and say we're making improvements for our region and for our students, and we want to do it expeditiously. How do we get there?
Right.
And we've been able to execute, and once again, it's through this partnership and collaboration.
I'm glad you brought that up because for Del Mar, that was something that just in the past year, we've really moved forward. Dr. Escamilla, do you want to talk a little bit about Freedom to Dream so that the listeners who haven't heard of it yet kind of get an idea of what we're doing?
Sure. We're 2 big semesters in. Last fall of 2025, we've launched our Freedom to Dream tuition waiver program, and it's a program whereby students within our taxing district who are matriculating from one of the high schools and or are adults with less than 12 hours, credit hours attempted, can come into the college with no cost of tuition to them. Okay, I didn't say it was free. Someone's going to pay for it. We'll talk about that later. However, this program is one that has taken off like gangbusters, and we used the prior year of the 24-25 academic year to put it all together. Just like Dr. Suarez is saying, he's emulating us. Well, we were emulating Austin Community College. They were at the forefront of this movement, and there's several of us who are, wading into the waters, if you will. So I just got to give full credit to our brother Russell Lowry Hart up there and their team and their board of trustees. That being said, our board of regents got together and supported us to move forward with this tuition waiver for those students. And right away, coming in, those students have to keep a 2.0, come to school full time. They've got to engage their counselors. They've got to sign a contract. It's an awesome obligation for these students, and we've seen amazing turnaround. We had a theoretical model that said at 75% we can make everything float, and with the funding models that we have with the state now, everything would work out. They are outdoing their own expectations of themselves, and their students are persisting overall at 82%.
Wow.
And so it's just been a remarkable project.
And I think when you're talking about students persisting, for people listening, that's really if you come in as a freshman and if you can make it from the fall of your freshman year to the fall of your sophomore year, and then to the next fall.
Great point.
For colleges, that's really significant. We want to keep people. Yeah.
Yes.
So when we talk about persistence, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Suarez now coming in to Coastal Bend, you were not new to CBC.
Correct. I began at CBC in 2018 as Dean of Academics. I did, I would say, a full tour of the state of Texas. I was at the University of Texas Permian Basin for a while, and then I returned to the Rio Grande Valley, McAllen, South Texas College for a bit before returning back to CBC in this current role.
Are you born and raised in South Texas?
I'm originally from Westago, Texas.
From Westago.
So originally a Valley native, 956.
The 956.
Yes. And my wife and I marry. We have 3 boys, Ezra, Ezekiel, and Elijah. Currently, we were living in McAllen before fully moving back to Beeville. So, but originally from the Rio Grande Valley.
Your wife just kind of made a recent accomplishment, I heard.
What happened?
My wife just recently graduated with her pharmacy degree. She's a PharmD. She's the real doctor in the family.
Congratulations.
Unlike myself on the academic side.
And what is her first name?
Maria.
Maria. Okay,
yes.
So congratulations to Maria.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's a huge accomplishment. We were able to celebrate her graduation this past weekend, and it's just one of the things that we shared is just, as a first generation student, having access to affordable education, which is the work that we are doing with programs like the Promise program or the Freedom to Dream program, right, is very instrumental for our students and for our region. And I know you mentioned a very important point. I think, in my opinion, one of the biggest challenges that we have within the Coastal Bend region is the outmigration of talent, right? We're graduating our students at Del Mar College and at Coastal Bend College with degrees. They end up transferring to other institutions, and we lose that talent. So when we begin talking about things like economic development and growth, that becomes a very serious issue, and we begin addressing it through education and through these partnerships. And we have some other bold partnerships that are going to be coming to fruition pretty soon.
Yes.
We'll discuss those at some point because we're working behind the scenes very closely with the administrative leadership team and the executive leadership team at Del Mar College, and we're very happy about that partnership. It's not only innovative, it's just, once again, bold, and really pushing the envelope on frameworks and models that other peers should be mimicking.
Okay, well, I am very excited to hear about that. Yeah. So when you're ready to launch, when we're ready to talk about it in public, I can't wait to hear about it. So fun fact, I have an Ezra and an Eli, not an Elijah and Eli, but yeah. And then not an Ezekiel. My Ezekiel is Carmen, so mess that up. But tell me what drew you to Coastal Bend College and to Beeville in South Texas? Because what I've heard for presidencies, right, is it really is about a fit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just the South Texas region. If I was able to describe our students, it's resiliency. the resiliency that we see in the work that they do in pursuing an education, specifically in our area, in our region, right? We are predominantly rural. So we have challenges that other institutions in a more urban spaces don't have. Challenges with infrastructure like technology, public transportation, right? The list goes on. Food insecurity, socioeconomic status. I mean, we can talk about this all day, and we wouldn't be able to kind of finish having the conversation. So being able to support those students, coming from a background myself as a first-generation migrant farm working student, I grew up traveling out of state to Minnesota and Iowa and doing farm labor, basically. I didn't come back to college until I was 22. And that experience, I still recall it very distinctly. It was actually in a field doing hoeing of weeds in an agricultural cornfield. It was 99 degrees, I think, that day in Minnesota. And I was working alongside my sister, and I said, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I just, something has to change. And I came back, enrolled in an associate's degree at a local community college, graduated and continued on in that path. And our students in this region are facing very similar challenges and circumstances. It may be realized in different ways. And that's why this work in the Coastal Bend is so important. And that's why these partnerships are even more important, and this collaboration. One of the things that I know we had discussed early on, Dr. Escamilla, is how can we collaborate to open up these doors and remove these barriers for all of our students. And it is really through collaboration and partnership in this work.
I thought I had it bad under a hot car welding, installing mufflers. At least I was under a shade structure. If you call under a hot car welding shade, anyway. But no, it's that kind of grit and that kind of, it just tells me that what I've realized about you, Dr. Suarez, is you're not afraid. You're not afraid to take those bold steps. Why? Because those families are still out there doing that. They're under those hot cars. They're out in those fields. They're on the construction sites, like I was and you were, and like we've been, and they're calling for us, and we know that they're calling for us, and it doesn't stop. They keep coming with the same circumstances. Yes, they're still out there. They're in the migrant fields and in the migrant camps and so forth, still working across the United States today. Yes, they are working 3 and 4 jobs and couch surfing and insecurities of food and housing and stability and everything else. So, I dare say, because I've gotten to know Zach here over the past year and even before a little bit, and that we're ready to take these bold steps. What's the worst that can happen to us? We've seen what can happen and so forth.
If you do nothing,
we've come
or if you
from
wait.
You've come from less than nothing at times, and yes, we had that realization, and so you remember those thoughts. He remembers that thought of looking at his sister. I remember sitting there, arguing with my father about what I was going to do when I, the following week, much less the future, and so forth. And it's those are hard times that cemented our way of thinking to say, let's be bold, let's take chances, and the worst that can happen to us is not really that bad.
Well, and I think that probably helps the rest of us understand your leadership.
Yes.
There is a boldness that comes with, you got to take a chance. What's the worst that can happen? We're already, just do it sometimes.
Well, they're calculated chances that come with advanced education and training and mentoring and sharing of ideals and that's the other thing. We're not afraid to ask. We're not afraid to sit there. We're not. We've humbled ourselves. We've been humbled. And so from there, everything is possible. And we got to transfer that on to our families that we serve here.
And if you're not humbled, somebody in the family is definitely going to make sure you are humbled at some point.
That's for sure.
That's the fun part.
That's a whole other episode that we could spend on that.
Yes.
Have you seen on social media, I think this has just been so cool to see this trend of migrant families in the graduation
and the regalia
pictures.
out in the fields. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like I said, I think all of our students in this region have similar circumstances. You see them in different ways, but it's just it makes this work all that much more important. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, we've got other institutions here in the Coastal Bend. Again, there's a lot of opportunity here. We'll be right back.
This is where the world opens up to possibility, to action, to success. This is Windward Campus at Del Mar College, where cutting-edge facilities prepare you for careers in high-demand fields. and industry professionals bring real-world experience to the classroom. This is a place of discovery, opportunity, and growth. This is where potential becomes your power. This is where you belong. Learn more at dmcdreams.com.
And again, we've got Dr. Mark Escamilla, Del Mar College President, and Dr. Zachary Suarez with Coastal Bend College. But y'all have been talking a lot about first-generation students, and I'm a first-gen college student. But I've noticed that even if you're a second-generation college student, sometimes it's very similar. If your parent got an associate's degree or a certificate 20, 30 years ago, and then you come back, it's almost like starting over again. And sometimes things have changed so much, it's still a challenge.
Yeah, I would agree. And part of it, I think, speaking very openly, it's just sometimes our processes, our procedures are not adjusting to students and some of the needs that they have, and really meeting the students where they're at. Now with technology, I think streamlining some of those processes will get better, where we'll be able to address those needs in a more effective and efficient way for all of our students, and getting through those barriers within processes, procedures.
Oh man,
that we
I
have.
totally agree. And I'm going to use this one example that we all are always talking about. Students don't check their emails. That's one process where we can have a highly dedicated employee who's like, we have sent this student 5 emails. And what I've finally equated to from having my own kiddos and watching them is that it's like snail mail for them. It's like going to the post office. Us going to the post office to check our mail is them checking their email. They don't check it every day. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't check it every day?
Dr. Natalie, in 1997, email was pretty new back then.
It was. I remember my first email address.
They didn't check it back then.
Really?
They did not check it back then.
I always checked mine.
Okay, well, the A students perhaps. The rest of us C students didn't. But I remember that being a problem at East Texas State University, or A&M Commerce. It had just become where I started. And that was almost 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And even then, you thought, well, there was this new trend, this thing called email. I remember opening my first email account on Yahoo, which I think I still have, was not their choice. And I think cell phones were just starting, and the very basic text was it. And that instantly took over. Well, nowadays with the smartphones, the rest is history. But that's always been a weakness and a challenge for students.
I'm gonna totally date myself, but I remember being on the campus bus in '97, and all the students were going to campus, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a cell phone rings.
Yeah.
And everybody was like,
somebody has money.
Because nobody had and that person was so embarrassed. I still remember because I knew her. She's like, hi, can I call you? I mean, it was so different.
It was
so different.
But email is still a very laborious task.
Absolutely.
And talking about first generation students, I wrote my dissertation on them, and basically
Sorry, Dr. Suarez, he's going nerd alert here.
No, I love
It'll be over soon.
I'm not going to dive into the data.
Not today.
But it's like the old adage, for everything that changes, things still stay the same. That's not the way it goes, but that's basically the underpinnings of the adage. And what happens is, we keep getting older. Technology keeps changing. All these things keep changing, but they keep coming. There's a new crop of 18-year-olds every year. And if you start diving back into the, your dual enrollment and so forth, they're even way younger than that. But those younger students just keep coming with the same basic issues, the same societal issues. But I dare say that the state of Texas has taken a great leap forward in the way of outcomes and educating. Texas, been building the talent strong Texas, closing the gaps before that, 2036, Texas 2036. All of these initiatives are really helping to shed light on the need from the state leadership. And I dare say that the 50 CEOs in Texas are really making an impact.
So I have a question for y'all to kind of chew on. I have a dear friend who has daughters the boy's age, and they went to London and they did dual credit, and they ended up in nursing school. But for him, he always said it was frustrating for him to see people so young taking college courses. And then, and I still, as much as we champion, right, to get education not streamlined, right, it's more intertwined now, I still hear that. What would you say to somebody out there who has that concern?
I think having different perspectives in any instructional classroom, I think, is important to learning in general. But I think it's very invigorating to see students at a younger age graduating with an associate's degree early on and being able to join the workforce earlier than expected, right? Traditionally, we would have students that graduated from high school at 18. They would spend 2 years pursuing an associate's degree and then spend another 2 years pursuing a bachelor's degree. The fact that we have some students now graduating with a bachelor's degree at 20 years old and able to join the workforce and contribute to really, without getting into the political aspect of it and the details, taxes and payroll and
it's true. Quality of life.
Correct.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think to me it's very invigorating to see our students being so successful at that young age.
I think so too. I mean, you think about the age that you were out in the fields working. I was doing things at 12 and 13 years old that 20-year-olds wouldn't even have a clue to do today. So we were given early opportunities and so forth. I think capturing the imagination of students in an early age is our obligation. Because if you don't, somebody or something will. And so it might as well be in a venue that an educational venue of some aspect. Putting a welding lead in an 18-year-old's hands for the first time. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I've been hooping and hollering, and thank God.
And you did, and it worked.
Yes, well, and from a political standpoint, Senator Juan Chuy Hinojosa helped us back at the 86th legislature or the 85th, I believe, and lowered the age of students that could receive certain funds for adult level education at an earlier age. Well, my point is, whether it's transfer or one of the CTE technical workforce areas, we have to give them those opportunities because they will be distracted and they will stick their noses in those phones and go off into an area that'll distract them forever.
And I think you can do both. I think you can
sure.
do that and still have fun.
But if you don't,
you can still be a kid, like you said, while really learning.
Yes.
And yeah.
But you have to have that opportunity. So that's why, the things that, Dr. Zach and I feel very strongly about is getting to them at that earliest age. And if nothing else, put something in their hands, put a violin in their hands.
Right.
I heard the orchestra play, a small component of the orchestra at Veterans Memorial 2 days ago. I was there as part of their graduation or the ceremony for the honors, the top honor students, and they were playing this absolutely amazing set of music prior to and so forth, and whether it's a violin or teaching them to stick a syringe in somebody's arm and draw blood or welding or cooking or whatever, give them that shot. You never know if you're going to capture their imagination. That's critical, I think.
So I know we could probably talk all day about higher education, and we're so passionate about it. Is there anything else that for this show you would love the Coastal Bend, the community, to kind of hear or know about what's either going on with you in the college or?
I think for us specifically, one of the initiatives that we're particularly proud about that we're engaging in collaboration with Del Mar College and our great friend Dr. Vela at Texas A&M Kingsville is a caring campus. We are rolling.
Yes, we're all caring campus collaborators together.
So we're very excited about that work, and so we just are excited for our students to experience the same setting regardless of what institution they select to attend. For us, it's important, once again, to give them access, and for the support that they get at each institution is equitable across the board. But other initiatives that we're currently in the process of moving forward on is we are launching an associate's degree of applied science and project management at Coastal Bend College this fall,
Nice.
in alignment with bachelor's degrees that are offered at Del Mar College. So once again, we can't overshare some of the work that we're doing behind the scenes.
Sure, there's some super secret superhero work.
but it's all intentional in making sure that we open the door and we get them to graduation.
Yes.
And that there's a follow-up, an option that they have here at Del Mar College after they complete their degrees.
And I want to follow up because I think we're also excited about Caring Campus. And so what Caring Campus has been this initiative. It's a national initiative, right, with Culture of Care for our faculty and staff, and then in turn our students. And so, Dr. Vela from A&M Kingsville brought, the kind of all the colleges in the area together to do this. And so it really is about treating, right, our students and faculty and staff, everybody on campus with integrity and respect. You said earlier, meet the students where they're at, meet our employees where they're at, right? And provide such a positive experience that you get all of your needs met when you're on one of our campuses. You're going to get the same experience.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. I'm glad you brought that up because we've got the Viking Way here at Del Mar College, and we spent a lot of time on it. Everybody's really pumped about it.
That's awesome.
And we're starting to see it.
Yeah.
We're starting to see, people walking students, which again, it's always been done.
Yeah.
Right? But now just more collaboratively across the college, everybody's thinking about it. So I'm excited that we're doing that together.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're having a lot of fun together.
It is.
Yeah, it's been a lot of good work.
I want to thank you for all those opportunities to get together, Dr. Suarez. And I just want everybody to know out there in the Coastal Bend who listen to this show that, the Coastal Bend College and Del Mar College, we are going to be here. We're going to do the best that we can together for all the families out there we serve. Certainly our partners at A&M Kingsville and A&M Corpus, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so we are partnering and making sure that our students are transitioning to those institutions should they want to go there. And a lot of work's going into it and a lot of good faith. And, we got some really, really strong leaders here in the Coastal Bend, and I think we should all gather around these institutions and not just know that they're here, but support those students that are out there in those checkout lines at the grocery stores and the convenience stores, restaurants, and so forth. Just know that there's somebody out there, and they probably have a foot in one of our 4 great institutions in the Coastal Bend.
Absolutely, or several family members have. We've talked about it with our Freedom to Dream, and I'm sure you're going to start seeing this too with your program, that we've got parents and their kids in the Freedom to Dream program at the same time.
That's awesome.
And it's just electrifying. It really is. Now you've got your main campus in Beeville.
Correct, yes.
But then you have other centers and campuses, correct? As
Correct.
part of your footprint?
Yes, we have centers in Alice, Kingsville, and Pleasanton as well.
Okay,
Yes.
that's pretty substantial.
Yes.
Like road time, driving time.
Yes, it's about 9,600 square miles in total, our coverage area for our district.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's predominantly rural. So
Yeah, it does amaze me though then how much footprint both colleges together cover.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the initiatives we're also exploring is just partnering with public transportation. Once again, getting students to where they need to be, and those collaborations are important. So we're having conversations right now with a public transportation vendor that would allow us in removing that additional barrier, which is a huge one for our region.
So are you talking about students going from the high school to the college, or you just even getting students from their homes?
Just getting students even from their homes to the college.
Wow.
Or intercampus between sites, depending on the course offerings that we have or programs at the institution. So
I know it excites me, and I'm so passionate about higher ed. But when you have leadership like this that has integrity, is moving together, I think it gives the community a sense of peace, knowing that we're doing everything that we can on behalf of our students and our community. So thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. You too.
This is Viking Radio. This show is a production of Del Mar College.